Hello, everybody. For those of you who might just be tuning in, I'm Helen, the designer behind Sunflower Cottage Crochet, and today I'm going to talk with the wonderful Mary Beth Temple from MTBCreates. Creates. Sorry, Mary Beth, I do switch those around when I type it as well for some reason. And we're going to be talking about the Preemie Crochet Challenge pattern that Mary Beth has released today for us. It's super cute, and a little bit about her and what she does so that you guys can get to know her. If you check out the description, I've put a link to our blog post and a link to our Instagram, but if Mary Beth wants to give you any more links for anything, she'll do so during the chat. So without further ado, let's bring her on.
I'm sideways. I'm not quite sure how that happened.
Okay. We're having fun with the technology today. Oh, there we go.
Yes, technology is a fine thing, and you're seeing all the mess on the couch that I thought I had gotten out of the way.
I think we all have sofas like that, Mary Beth.
Well, at least we do if we crochet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to share a photo of mine at the moment. It needs clearing off.
My superintendent of my building was in the other day doing something, and he saw all the video cameras, and he was like, "Oh, wow, you really do work from home." It's like, I told you. Sometimes I think they're not 100% sure what I film, but yes. I think crochet tutorials are safe.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy to meet you finally. Helen was just saying to me before we came on that we were in the same room together at H&H in May, but I had not met her personally yet. So now this year at H&H, if you're coming, you will have to come and say hello.
That's absolutely. I don't think I'll do this next year because the travel's quite expensive for us, but maybe it's the year after. Definitely.
Yeah, I don't. Also, they're adding the consumer show this year. If you're in the United States and in the Midwest, H&H is our trade show where people in the profession for knitting and crocheting, needlepoint, sewing, the soft crafts, as the British refer to them, can go and meet with manufacturers, do client meetings, all that kind of stuff, which is why I go. And but next year in 2026, in addition to the wholesale show, which you have to be a professional person to get into, they're also having a retail show for people to come and shop and take classes and that kind of thing. So I'm actually in the planning committee for that. So 26 is going to be quite the year out in Chicago, but we'll have a 3-day retail event and then a 2-day break and then the 4-day wholesale show.
Okay, fabulous. Oh, you're making me regret my life choices. Anyway, so today you are our featured pattern on the Preemie Crochet Challenge. That is just adorable. I love your cardigan.
And thank you so much.
So easily, isn't it? It's not, if you're new to crochet, you could pick this one up and work it without worrying too much about it.
I agree with that. And also, and it's something I have not gotten the video up. It'll be up in about an hour. I accidentally deleted some of the footage, and I do have a tutorial video. It should be up very soon, but it's not up yet. But one of the things I talk about in the video is the construction is seamless. This is the inside. Because one of the things you have to pay attention to, here I'm turning it wrong side out. One of the things you have to pay attention to when you are crocheting, not just for preemies, but if you're doing lap blankets, anything that's going into a medical setting, you don't want any seams and you don't want anything hanging because you don't want to irritate a patient's sensitive skin, no matter how tiny or large that patient may be, but also you don't want anything hanging around that could get tangled up in an IV line or with a medical professional. So one of the things I like about this construction, so you make the 4 granny squares first, then you build the body down and the sleeves out, but no seams. But no seams also means no finishing at the end. So once you have everything crocheted, you have 3 ends to weave in and you're done. A lot of people don't like to do finishing, so I think that is an extra added bonus.
It is, absolutely. Now, you've already mentioned it. I was going to mention I have a Preemie cardigan as well on my website from a previous challenge a few years ago. And a few of my testers had said, why are the wrists so wide open? Can we put cuffs on them? And I'd said, well, yes, that's absolutely fine. But the idea behind having the open cuffs is so that if there is wires and things like that, it doesn't hinder them at all. And it also means that it's easier for mum and dad to have a hold of baby if they're still very delicate and hooked up to lots of things, because the cuffs, they might look big, but keep everything in place, and it makes it not quite as scary for mum and dad to hold baby as well.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that. So that's a good point. My daughter was not a preemie, but she was in the NICU right after she was born. She had some lung problems, and the first time I did anything for a preemie size, it was for Coates and Clark 100 million years ago. And I kept saying, it's too small. It's too small. I'm making it and it's too small. And they kept saying, no, you're exactly right. I actually told that story on, I can't remember if it was last year's Preemie Challenge or the year before, but I did little caps in 3 different sizes on fruit. And everybody laughed at me. They're called the Citrus Trio. But back in the day when we didn't have Ravelry or charts or any of that other kind of thing, they told me, Preemie 1 will fit on an orange, Preemie 2 will fit on a navel orange, and Preemie 3 will fit on the grapefruit. And that's how we learned to size things, because you couldn't Google what is the right size for a preemie hat. You had to sort of guess. So it was Carol Alexander, who was a longtime editor and designer in the crochet world, and she taught me the fruit trick. So I'm always amazed how tiny little people can be.
Yes, but isn't it wonderful though that they look like these tiny delicate things, but they are such amazing fighters.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and my wee girl is 29 now, so it's been a long time since I had to deal with that. But
Oh,
and
bless.
she was full size, but she was in the NICU for a couple of days, and it just, the other thing I like about doing the Preemie Challenge, being in that medical situation for a new parent, especially, she's my one and only, so this was my first experience being in a hospital setting with an infant. It can be so off-putting, all the wires and the noises and the lights and the sounds and the people running in and out and everything else that's happening. It feels like such an artificial setting, if you will, and having something that somebody made, something tactile, something soft, something beautiful, can take a teeny bit of the stress out of the situation. It can be comforting for the parent as well as the infant,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, somebody cared enough to make this for my baby.
Well, and here's my baby wearing a sweater, not a hospital gown. Or here's my baby wearing a cap, not the one the hospital gave me.
Yes.
It's a more accessible setting, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah. So is that your motivation behind joining the Preemie Challenge? Because you have joined for quite a few years, haven't you?
I have, and I'll be honest, Helen, I gave up most of my crochet alongs recently. I've just done a big rebrand. I used to be Hooked for Life Publishing. I was Hooked for Life for 15 years. I'm MTBCreates now. I've changed my entire business model in 2025 to react to, I swear it looks like I'm looking off. This is going to make me crazy. Because we had the technical difficulty, I can't decide where to look. I can't find my camera, is my point. I've done a lot of rebranding and a lot of chaos this year, and I dropped most of my crochet alongs because they're not supporting my business goals. I am less blog focused. A lot of you in this industry are very focused on blog traffic and advertising revenue, et cetera, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not what I do. I'm primarily at this point a video creator. So I dropped all of the crochet alongs because I was doing them because I felt like I had to increase blog traffic. Once I stopped making my business so focused on blog traffic, I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. but I love, there's 3 or 4 that I still do, and the Preemie Challenge is one of them. I do love it. I love that you've been doing it for so long. It's like, okay, it's time for Preemie Challenge. You know what I mean? It's like, uh, I'm trying to figure out how to put this without insulting other crochet alongs. A lot of times I feel like crochet alongs are like, let me find a good search term and put some designers together to support that theme because it's going to get us good blog traffic. And whereas the Preemie Challenge, your Preemie Challenge, I feel is coming from a place of heart and caring deeply about the content. And I love that about you, Helen, and I love that about the Preemie Challenge. So I have not dropped the Preemie Challenge. I still do, there's a cancer challenge that I still do.
Mhm.
And then I'm also very close friends with Marie at Underground Crafter, and so if she makes me, I do hers. But I've really dropped a lot of the rest of them because they don't serve me. And the
I think.
older I get, the less interested I am in doing things for the sake of doing them.
Mhm.
I'm more interested in doing things that support my, I hate to say to support my vision as an artist because it sounds so pretentious, and I do this for a living, you know. I remember 10 years ago somebody saying, what are you motivated by with your design work? And I said, my electric bill. Like, this is what I do. This is how I make my money, you know. But as I get older, as I have less responsibilities, because my girl is 29, not 12, um, I'm more focused on doing work that feeds me in some way, that either brings me joy or I think is a positive change in the world. So if it doesn't make me happy and it doesn't serve me and I don't see a net good, then I just don't do it anymore. And look out, world, because I already have a reputation for being very mouthy. I think it's getting worse, is my point. But I do love the Preemie Challenge, and so I just thought this was so much fun, and I love. This sounds like a Hirschner's ad. There is a Hirschner's affiliate link on the blog post if you want to click it and get me my little 8% or whatever it is. Um, but I do love how the color changing yarn works for this. And I do like this color in particular because it's not screaming a specific gender.
Yeah.
I like a lot of baby pastels. I'm like, oh, you know, but I do like this one in particular, which is why I chose it for this project. But I like that it is, I think the color change really suits this pattern. It wouldn't
Mhm.
look bad in a solid, but I do like this yarn in this pattern.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
it's
and
so tiny.
it's a 3-weight yarn as well.
Yes, yes, it
Yes.
is, because I think, you know, you're not going to make a preemie out, a pretty preemie item out of a bulky weight, you know, it'll only be 3 stitches and it'll be big enough. Generally my crochet work tends to favor the lighter weight yarns, 2s and 3s and 1s. Um, I know a lot of people like to do the 4s and the 5s because they want to like do the project and get it done. But I think from a design perspective, the lighter
Mhm.
weight yarns sort of take you away. I feel like a lot of knitters that look down on crochet do it because it's so bulky all the time because the stitching is denser. I think going down to the lighter weight yarn sort of takes away some of that bulk that
Yeah.
people are obnoxious about. And I also think I, this has 45 stitches in it, you know, around the bottom, around the body. If I was in a thicker weight yarn, it would have 20. You know what I mean? You have no control so far as structure goes.
Yeah.
So I
And
like
the
having the ability to change up the parts of the pattern to make them go together.
Yeah. Excellent. And the great thing about the preemie patterns as well is that with most of them, because the patterns are so small, you can literally raid your stash and raid your scrap buckets and use up those acrylic yarns that you haven't found a project for yet, but they've been sitting there for ages.
Well, and I did the math on this, and even though it's a cardigan, it only took about 125 yards. Um, a lot of people have that laying around in the stash bucket, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, or 1 point, I forgot to do the grams. It was 1 ounce. So it's not a
Mhm.
lot of yarn, is the
No.
point. Also, we also joke about crocheters. There's, they call them the process crocheters that just want to crochet, and the project crocheters that want the project and they don't necessarily care how they get there. But this is like so satisfying for both because it's done so quickly. And then you get to go like this and play with it because it's so cute.
It's really adorable. Okay, so you've mentioned that you've recently gone through a transition with your business. So what kind of patterns now can people expect from you? I see as well on your website that it's not just crochet, so people with
That
multiple
is,
hobbies.
well, so back in the dawn of time, I always sound like I'm 800 years old when I do these events, but I've been doing this for a long time. But I came into professional crocheting and knitting via being a sewing pattern designer. I worked on Broadway. I was not a designer, I was a technician. I was a wardrobe supervisor, a dresser. I did alterations. So as far as putting garments together goes, my background is sewing. And then when I started Hooked for Life, so I wrote a book called The Secret Language of Knitters back in the dawn of time, and it did very well, and it was just like a little humor book. And then the publisher came back and said, "Do you want to do a crochet one?" And the crochet book is called Hooked for Life. So the company was called Hooked for Life to tie in with the book, you know, all that other kind of thing. But when
Mhm.
I started doing independent patterns, and please remember, this is before Ravelry was a thing. This is before digital downloads were a thing. There were several very talented knitters doing independent pattern work. There were no crocheters. So I started focusing specifically on crochet because I felt like there was a hole in the marketplace. And when
Mhm.
I tell people this, they're just, I mean, this is, I know I'm dating myself and this is a way long time ago, but like I had a pattern. I live on the East Coast of the United States. I had a pattern distributor on the West Coast of the United States. And he used to print the patterns and put them in little plastic sleeves. And then I
Mhm.
would mail them to the distributor on the West Coast, who would mail them out to the stores that bought them. I had 15 sales reps. People were going around to yarn shops and selling paper copies of the pattern. When, well, that's new. What is happening? Um, there we go. I'm really not that flexible, you guys. It's the iPad. It's not me. Um, but my point is, you know, we were mailing pieces of paper around. There was no digital download. There was not the opportunity to do things that there is now. There wasn't the digital download. So I started focusing primarily on crochet because there was a hole in the marketplace, and I also did some knitting. In the last couple of years, I have really wanted to bring sewing back into my brand because I like it. It was what I did first. I started sewing on a sewing machine when I was 10 years old because my mother did, you know, and she was always amazed that I was a professional wardrobe supervisor for a dozen years, and she was always amazed because, you know, that's a job, really. You know, I toured all over the world with different dance companies. She used to call me the highest paid laundress in North America. You know, it was like a joke in my family, to be honest, you know. But like, I'm going to Australia for 3 months. I'm going to wash out dancers' leotards, you know, because I was on a dance tour behind the scenes. And I worked on Broadway. I did films, I did television, all that kind of stuff. So one of the reasons I went from Hooked for Life, which I think is so crochet specific with the hook in the title, back to
Mhm.
MBT Creates is I'm focusing more on what I want to do. And whether that's crocheting or whether that's sewing or whether that's upcycling or whether that's knitting, I want to do what I want to do. And again, I think I'm going to be a hellacious 80-year-old when that time comes. But
But I think people also, if you enjoy what you do, people see that and they're attracted to that.
I hope so. We'll find out.
Mhm.
And I also want to focus more on garments, whether it's crochet or knitting or sewing, because I feel, well, you've seen me at events. You know I have strong opinions about the state of our industry, but I feel like crochet is getting a little flooded with newer designers, and there's not a thing wrong with that, except I think newer designers, because they're newer, tend to focus on scarves and hats and shawls and things that are easier to write the patterns.
Mhm.
Whereas
Craft with them.
they will get to the point where they can write garment patterns, but I think if you're looking for a wonderful garment pattern, in any sort of craft. It's a little harder to find that than it is to find a shawl or a scarf that just makes you happy. So I still have little amigurumi here and there and Halloween keychains and, all the whatever floats my boat. Don't tell anybody, I'm crocheting a costume for my Labubu right now because it amused me. And it is technically a wearable, right? Labubu, it's a wearable. But I am trying to focus more on wearables, regardless of the craft, because I think that's where my expertise can kind of set me apart from maybe some other designers that are more accessory focused.
And
And
you've
again,
got
that's not a dig. It's not a
no.
dig, I swear. I just think that garment fitting is a different skill set than I stink at social media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's people, we all have stuff we're good at and stuff we're bad at. And what I'm good at is garments. So I'm trying to bring that more into my wheelhouse, if you will.
Yeah. And you've already got some interesting garments on your website as well. There was one, it was a sweater from a couple of years ago, and you'd made it with granny squares on the top, but you'd turned them so there were diamonds. And
angled blocks. Yep.
Yes, that's really cute. I really liked that one when I saw it.
Thank you. Again, I certainly couldn't wear it, but it looks very lovely on the model, who is far more petite than I am. So that's called the Angled Blocks sweater, and it is a little body conscious, that one. Again, not something that I personally would wear, but I thought it was pretty. The only downside to that, and I will warn anybody who's listening, there's a lot of ends because of all the granny squares.
Yeah.
But the granny squares are turned on the diamonds, and there's space. There's space between each one. It's not 20 diamonds in a row. It's 10 in a row and an empty space in between.
But then it was only like kind of from the top of the bust up.
And right, because I wanted to cover the bust.
So it's not completely see-through or anything like that. You could wear it by itself.
Yes, correct. And the model in those photos had tattoos, so she liked that you could see her tattoos. And again, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
but
excellent. So we've talked about where you're going. We've talked a little bit about where you've been. You mentioned before we came live that you had quite a few books that have been published.
16 books.
Where can people find those?
Amazon.com, bookshelf.org, your local bookseller. My books are all traditionally published. You can buy my patterns on Lovecrafts or Ravelry or yarn.com or on my own website, which I'm working on. Only has 2 patterns at the moment, but I'm working on it. On my own website on MTBCreates.com. Some of them are out of print because they're old. My most recent one is called The Starter Guide to Tunisian Crochet, and it teaches you how to Tunisian crochet, and it has, I think, 15 or 16 patterns in it as well, and that came out last year from Landauer Press is the name of that. If I can ever get my shop together, I was going to try and do some signed copies, but Helen, I don't know if this happens to you. I have 75 things that I want to do in a day. I feel like I never catch up with all of them, and you still have kids at home, right?
Yes, I do.
All of my designer friends that have kids at home, they keep saying, how do you get so much done? It's like, my kid drives herself now. It is a whole different ballgame when you're doing the taxi service.
I'm so looking forward to when those tables turn. But it has been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Mary Beth. Hopefully we can do it again.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you inviting me.
You're more than welcome anytime. You just say the word, sweetheart. But Dawn has said hello. So hi, Dawn.
Hello.
Thanks very much for watching. You can find Mary Beth's pattern is today's featured pattern on the Preemie Crochet Challenge for the cardigan she showed at the beginning of the video. And it is free for the remainder of the month, isn't it? It's a free PDF down
till the end of September.
Yep. So I've got the link in the description for the roundup for the Preemie Crochet Challenge. The designers this year have been super awesome. Most of the patterns that have featured this year are still available as free PDF downloads. So if you've missed any, do go and have a look at the blog post. Most are still free PDFs, but some are free on the blog, and I've listed which ones are free on the blog only now and which ones are paid PDFs only. But I do hope you've enjoyed the challenge, and I've certainly enjoyed this chat. So thank you very much, sweetheart.
All right, and thank you so much for having me. And the next time you come to the US, you let me know.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, bye-bye.